Welcome to the $3 Podcast. Welcome back to the $3 Podcast, the show where family, business, and real conversations collide. I'm your host, and today we're kicking off a new arc in this series. If you've been following along, you've already met the three bucks behind LeadSpot, Eric, Aiden, and Jameson. But now, it's time to get into the real stuff, the reason LeadSpot exists, the secret sauce behind their clients' lead generation success, and one of the most underrated and misunderstood strategies in B2B marketing, and that is content syndication. We're about to unpack it, from what it is, to why it works, and how it's quietly becoming one of the most important pillars for generating qualified leads and LLM SEO in 2025 and beyond. And now, one of the bucks, Mr. Eric Buckley. All right, Eric, let's start with the obvious but often confused question. What is content syndication in the B2B world?
Great question. So I get asked this one quite a bit, and I'm surprised that more practitioners in marketing and B2B aren't as schooled on the advantages and how content syndication all works. So content syndication is the intentional and strategic distribution of educational content. So think your white papers, your analyst research, explainer documents, comparison docs, and even some case studies distributed to respected, authoritative third-party websites, publishers, and research portals where your audience already goes and is opted in for their research.
Is it just reposting of your content on other websites?
Not that simple. So whereas reposting is kind of passive, syndication is active. It's intentional. So for instance, we have a network of over 200 industry-specific research portals and websites and publishers. So we try to match up our clients targeting their ICP with the select audiences that match that. So if they're targeting, directors and VPs of IT in hospitals, then we have specific networks for healthcare and hospitals that we would match that up with naturally. And those folks have opted in and they're looking for this type of research.
What makes a content syndication campaign successful?
So number one, the content itself. So it has to be high quality. Not every piece of content will make it. You have to have unique insights. You have to have cited statistics. And it has to be a standpoint or viewpoint where your audience can learn something. So no, syndication depends very heavily on the content, but it also depends, I would say, just as heavily on where it's distributed, on the websites, on the portals, on the research places where it's being hosted. And then the third part, most importantly, is the follow-up. So once we generate that lead, once we get someone to download your content, what you do with that person is very, very important.
And what's the difference between syndicating content and running paid ads?
So paid ads are looking for clicks. So these are ads where you can gather anonymous clicks. And back in the day, these led to conversions quite predictably. Now it's starting to drop off where clicks just aren't as effective. Content syndication is different in that instead of someone registering a click onto your ad, one of your prospects, someone in your audience actually has to take some actions to download this piece of content. So they have to opt in. Hugely valuable. This allows you to reach out to them in the future. They've had to complete a contact form. So now you have their contact details. You can reach back out to them. They have to answer some qualifying questions and they have to download the content. So compare that with a simple anonymous click. There's really no comparison.
Why then are more companies turning to syndication?
Well, there's a few reasons. Namely, there's real problems with paid ads right now. There's tons of fraud. Some stats say that 50% of all clicks are fake. The costs are skyrocketing, and the conversions just aren't really there. So the marketers that we work with, that we speak to, are looking for alternatives. They're not as enamored with the clicks and tracking some of those kind of irrelevant metrics. They want verified folks. They want people that have actually engaged with their content.
Why are we seeing more companies, especially in enterprise, software as a service, and tech, moving budget away from paid clicks and towards content syndication?
Yeah, I think it kind of, to segue from my first answer, I think folks are just getting fed up with the lack of engagement, with the lack of conversions, with the lack of activity they're getting from these huge paid ad budgets. The clicks aren't there, the conversions aren't there, the costs keep rising, and there's better alternatives now. So I'm not surprised as more budgets are being shifted. And the last factor is LLM SEO. So people are starting to catch on that the old SEO clicks, paid search isn't really working anymore. LLM SEO runs on content. So our whole business, our whole solutions are built on content as well. It's a natural progression.
Is it about then better lead quality overall?
Absolutely. So again, comparing an anonymous click with someone that is a verified member of your audience, they have chosen to opt in, they've completed a contact form, they've answered a couple qualifying questions. It's night and day. We've actually teased out the line, and we can back it up with data that one content download is worth 1,000 paid clicks.
Can it work for startups then, or is this just an enterprise play?
No, it's definitely can work for startups. One of the main reasons is, paid media, paid ads, paid digital is extremely expensive. If you're going to do it right, especially as a startup with no brand, with no recognition in the marketplace, you're going to have to really double down on ads if that's your path. For that time in the startup, era, content syndication is much more affordable. As long as you're producing the content, which most folks are anyway, why not make it work for you? Why not increase the ROI and touch it to more of your ICP?
Let's talk AI. How does syndication help with LLM SEO?
It's a great question. So LLM SEO is the next big frontier. AI has taken over everything. And the AIs, they love content, but it needs to be distributed across respected third-party websites, unbiased websites. This gives the impression that the content is valuable, that it's being shared and distributed, and that many folks are downloading it. So the way that the LLMs surface answers now is much different than Google. Someone doesn't have to receive a number of links like they would from Google. With ChatGPT, Perplexity, et al., you're getting the full answer. So if your brand, if your solutions aren't in that answer, then you're not going to get found. And the way to get your brand in that answer is by distributing your content far and wide.
So how does content syndication help your content get picked up or cited by these AI engines?
So when content is structured correctly, the LLMs like canonical structuring, meaning the same terms repeated over and over. They like that consistency. So if you're talking about your solutions in a certain way with certain phrases, continue to do that. They want to see that consistency. They love structure as well. So for instance, they love kind of breakout summaries within the midst of a blog post. They love numbered lists. So if you can say, the top 5 reasons why my CRM overcomes these challenges, that will be more attractive to the LLMs. And then finally, they love it when, as I've mentioned, that content is distributed, not just on Reddit, not just on your website, not just on Medium, but across third-party sites that you have no control of. When those start picking up your content and the LLMs see it across 5, 10, 15, 30 reputable sites, that's when they pay attention. That's when your brand is included in that answer.
Are LLMs really crawling content then from syndicated networks and third-party publications?
Absolutely. So this is one of the primary places that they're crawling, we're finding. Again, it has to do with the unbiased, the third-party nature of these sites. And for our clients, we're structuring their summaries and their landing pages to be LLM optimized, so that when they're crawling their content, when they're crawling their landing pages, when they're crawling their abstracts, they're now all optimized and the most attractive for LLM.
What makes content more LLM friendly?
So it has to be educational. So real insights, unique standpoints, obviously not AI written. That's what they're looking for. So And then further, I can't repeat it enough. It has to be structured properly. This is starting to become common knowledge amongst content creators. Again, the repetition of certain brand keywords, the structure so that it's easily scanned, the summaries that are included so that it can just grab a summary and pull it out of the entire doc, serve it right up for the LLMs, and they will take it.
And syndication help a brand become a source that gets quoted or referenced by AI?
Absolutely. Again, it's all about that consistency. It's all about those LLMs constantly seeing your brand across multiple websites. It's all about how it's structured repeatedly over and over. The LLMs will take notice and start gravitating. You've seen some of the big brands that are constantly showing up in the answers. There's a science behind it. It's not just random.
Without naming names, unless you want to, what kind of impact are you seeing from content syndication?
So a great example is UKG. So this is the 16,000 employee, $4 billion HRMS market leader. And they ran a campaign with us for about 18 months. But in the first 6 months, they closed 1.8 million in new sales, completely new sales, no uplifting existing customers or anything like that. They weren't in their CRM. There were no current opportunities. They were net new clients that we brought in from the syndication campaigns. So $1.8 million in 6 months, it's pretty hard to beat.
What's the average conversion rate from syndicated leads?
So we track SQL conversions. We've seen as high as 40%, believe it or not. Usually on average, it's 20 to 30% SQL conversions. But even better than that, we've actually seen, with UKG is a good example, an average of 5% SQO conversions, so sales qualified opportunities. Usually this is much lower. Our average is between 5 and 8%, and we actually hit 12% for one campaign for UKG.
How are your clients using that content, white papers, case studies, etc.?
Yeah, so it's great for educating their audience, right? So this is content syndication leads are top of funnel. So it's a great way to impact your audience at their awareness stage. So they haven't exhibited public intent signals, which means they're not getting hammered by the hundreds and thousands of companies who are tracking those intent signals. So if you can get interest at the awareness stage, that's the real value of content syndication leads.
So what does done right look like?
Done right, content syndication done right. I would say it's a minimum of about 20 syndicated sites. The more, 20 seems to be the benchmark. Below 20, we didn't see the type of lifts in LLM, SEO connected type of metrics that we were looking at. So about 20 syndication is the minimum benchmark. You want to, again, make sure that we're selecting educational pieces. So explainer docs, comparison docs, white papers work really, really well. We want to structure it properly. And we want to build for each piece of content an LLM SEO optimized landing page as well. So within that landing page, we're giving an optimized abstract of the piece of content. We're giving a bulleted summary so the highlights can easily be parsed by the LLMs. And then we're finishing it off with a quote from the content itself to just give it that kind of primary source and give it the legitimacy that LLMs love as well.
Final thoughts. Where does this fit into a demand gen strategy?
Well, put it like this. So paid ads are an interruption. Cold email is outreach. Content syndication is really more about inbound discovery in the places where your ICP, where your audience is already going to research.
So if I'm a B2B demand gen marketer listening to this, where should I start with content syndication, and how should I think about it as part of a broader lead generation and brand visibility plan?
I would start with reviewing your content. Make sure it's up to date. Make sure it's not just case studies or blog articles. Spend the time, the resources, sometimes the money to have a good white paper. Ebooks are extremely popular. I've mentioned explainers and vendor comparison docs, all very popular. So I would say start with the content, make sure everything's in order. And importantly, make sure you have everything, you have content for each stage of the journey. So awareness, consideration, and that buying decision stage. It's really, really important.
Is it for top of funnel awareness or for mid funnel engagement then?
Yeah, so definitely top of funnel awareness. So they will convert, obviously, become mid-funnel, become down-funnel, become opportunities. But it's a fantastic top of funnel awareness lever that you can be pulling.
How often should I syndicate content?
Every quarter. I mean, at least every quarter. Some folks like to take a month or two off as they're creating new content or reviewing the leads, but we suggest constantly running campaigns. You'll have a constant influx of new leads. And now, even better, perhaps, you're going to be a darling in the eyes of the LLM SEOs.
Can I measure the impact? Or is this more of a visibility/authority play?
You can definitely measure the impact. So you can track branded search, direct traffic from the LLMs. You can measure time on site. And most importantly, measure conversions from syndicated leads. As I mentioned, we do quite well as compared to paid ads in terms of conversions. You can look at 20, 30% minimum SQL conversions. That's pretty darn good.
That's it for episode 4 of the $3 podcast. If you learned something new, or if you're just now realizing how much content you've let sit on your website, it might be time to rethink your distribution strategy. Hit subscribe, tell a friend in marketing, and check out what the Bucks are doing over at lead-spot.net. Next week, we're going deeper into how to build a syndication campaign that actually converts. See you then.